Hello and welcome to day 68 of 73. And today I wanted to talk about performance. I remember in a past life, aka back when I was in school, I was involved in theater, and a lot of what is required ultimately in said subject was being able to rehearse lines, to assume a character, and then play it out in front of an audience of people after some time, after getting really comfortable with the idea of who that particular character was, and then having to do your best to basically be in their shoes. And the older I've gotten, the more it's taken a complex, I'd say, interpretation as far as what performance means, because when I was deep in the throes of my own personal battle, it was very comforting to know that there was something that I could always turn to in order to continue whatever the required role that I had to play was. Now, whether that was being the extra fun person that now kept things going as far as parties were concerned, or being overly electric in my conversation, or feeling like that was something that I could only unlock when I was drunk or drinking. And I think that it took me some time to understand more so the inherent value of my own character and what I bring to different situations. And it also made me pause and think about, to what extent that might go beyond just simply relying on certain vices in order to upkeep a perceived idea of identity when it comes to one's own self. And I know that's been very difficult for me to discern because for the longest time, I've had to sift through the debris and figure out which part of myself was actually true to who I was and which one was me trying to fit in or to do something that now was probably out of character, but then it garnered a lot more attention and a lot more awareness from people that I would have put on a pedestal or held in a higher esteem. And I think it's a slow growth and healing that I've gone through, and understanding as well. And I've talked before about, knowing where I'm seeking that validation from, or where I'm able to, sorry, highlight the value in and of myself in order to not really care about what the external voices might have to say about my particular journey. I think that it's important for me to have cultivated that strength internally, because now I'm in a position to be able to, from an outside looking in, show all the love that I have for that person that I was, and understand that in that moment in time, that was a necessity. It was necessary for me to perform, but at the same time, being mindful that now I have the strength enough to be able to forge my own path and to understand that where I go from henceforth is most likely not going to be going off of whatever idea I have about what's expected, but more so from a known truth of how much work I've put in and how much sincerity I've had with myself and how much love I've spoken to myself with in order to get to this particular stage. Now, it hasn't been as straightforward as one might expect. And I'm also proud of those moments where I've had to take one step forward and maybe three steps back in the kind of conversation that I have with myself, and the level of performance that I do put on in trying to make that transition much easier. And it has been rather rewarding, I'd say, for me to get to this particular stage and understand that to some degree we're all living that kind of life, but it is up to oneself to decide whether it is something that you're wanting to continue with perpetually, or to be able to stop, engage, and understand what the next best action would be. So, yeah, thank you for your time.